Hey guys, it's Amy with Aim to Plan, and today I am back with a planner therapy video asking you a pretty simple question. When was the last time you did something for self-care? So this video will be in the same line of some of the earlier videos where I'm giving you some hints for how to put together pages in your planner that can help you improve your mental health. And so in this video, what I'm going to be talking to you about is setting up a tracker where you can think about all the things that will work for you in terms of self-care and how you can put those things on paper so that way you can really see how often you spend time taking care of yourself. Why is it important that we do this? Well, one of the big things that we see come up a lot with mental health is that mental health, physical health, and just overall well-being, those things are interconnected. So we can't improve, or like we kind of hold ourselves back from doing the best that we can in terms of helping ourselves mentally if we don't take care of ourselves physically. And so a couple of things that I talked about in the very beginning episodes is how important, like really the only important things is making sure that you eat, sleep, and stay connected with other people. But here we're going to be expanding on that idea and really looking at some things that while they're not necessarily directly mental health oriented, they might be things that can get you into the state of mind where you can feel better, which will have an overarching effect of improving your mental health, being able to like give you the motivation to pull you out of depression or be able to knock you out of anxiety, at least at some small level. I'm not saying that it's going to cure your anxiety or cure your depression, but it can certainly help you move you in a positive direction rather than being barriers just because you're not taking care of yourself. Okay, so with all that being said, I've got a sheet of paper here. I did pull this just so you can see this. This is a sheet of paper from one of the companion packs from the Happy Planner. I'm pretty sure it was a companion pack that had like the gold foiling on it. I think it was that one. It could have been another one. I only had 2 companion packs, and honestly, I don't remember which one this came from. With that being said, though, you don't really need this specific paper. I'm just using it just because it was like one of the first things I could pull off my shelf. What you will need is basically a blank sheet of paper, and what we're going to be doing is kind of drawing out a couple of things. So actually, I forgot my ruler. And again, the whole purpose of this series of videos is to try to make things that are functional for you, things that you can pretty much put in your planner right away, as long as you have filler paper, something to write with, and some basic planning supplies like a ruler, eraser, pencils, that kind of thing. You should be able to kind of do these kind of pages. They're not things that require a ton more than that. And even at a more basic level, I'm trying to avoid the like decorative elements of this. Like I'm really focusing on the function of it. Okay, so with that kind of caveat out of the way, what we're gonna be doing today is kind of putting together a very simple chart. Now this is inspired by the guided journals, one of the original guided journals, in fact, not the ones with the journal prompts in them, but the one that had that sheet that had like, when was the last time you did something? And so what we're going to do is kind of mimic that, but at a self-care level. So one of my previous videos was really talking about like putting together visual schedules and visual ideas, diary cards of things that are self-care oriented. Now that is perfect. I really think that we should have something like that, like where we have a list of self-care items that will already be listed for us. So that way when we're feeling in a bad spot, we can just look at the list and pull something off that list. But one of the things that I didn't include in that is really talking about like making sure that we track over time how often we do these things. And so this is where this sheet is going to come into play. I'm going to try to do this more elegantly than some of my previous videos where I was really just kind of eyeballing it. What I'm going to do is draw out some basic lines here. I'm using pencil first just so I can erase. I didn't actually have anyone comment and say those lines are like driving me a little bit batty, but they drove me a little bit wonky. Just because I am detail oriented. You might not like believe that, but I do like things to be fairly straight and even. And the boxes, I'm thinking in particular of when I set up the guided journals as a planner as well as a journal. Those videos, I mean the boxes were all over the place. The lines at least were all over the place. All right, so I'm drawing out some boxes here. I'm really only putting like a couple of lines, like I'm using dot grid. The top half of this is dot grid. You can use lined paper, you can use graph paper, it really doesn't matter. Just count off a couple of lines. I'm leaving these boxes to be very very small, as you can see. And then I'll erase this to try to be at least a little bit more detail oriented in this video. And so I'm making the lines fairly small because we're going to number and use the bottom half of it for like numbering and kind of like color coding, not color coding, but like putting together a legend for ourselves. So we don't want to like use too much of the space. So what we're going to do here is I'm actually just going to draw off these boxes. And this is the part where if you're using like lined paper, you might have to measure this part of it. But again, just leave yourself just a little bit of room in each box. Like I made these to be squares. And so if you're using lined paper, you could just measure the lines and then use the height between the lines as you've drawn them. Like here, the height is going to be 1/2 inch. And so obviously I'm using the dots to kind of guide my lines here, but I could also, if I'm using lined paper, just use the ruler and just kind of do marks every 1/2 inch, right? So that's that. I need to count this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need 2 more lines. And I'm setting up basically a mini calendar here, okay? So you can, if you are not wanting to draw this out yourself, you can certainly just print this out and go from there. Okay, so again, like I drew these lines, so again, trying to be a little bit more particular in this video, I will erase these lines. All right, and I'm setting up this little mini calendar because we're gonna track self-care in 2 different ways. The first way is how often we do self-care, any form of self-care in our daily lives, all right? And so this is what this little calendar at the top is for. The second way we're going to track self-care is we're going to create a list of self-care activities, and we're going to track how often we do each activity. Like not how often, but like when's the last time we did each activity. Again, this is inspired by the original guided journals that had the when did you last do something, and the list that was on the guided journal, and this is just from memory, I'm pretty sure it had things like when was the last time we like flipped our mattress, when was the last time we had an oil change, right? So those are some things that we don't necessarily think about regularly, but we want to make sure that we put note of the date that we did that, and so that's kind of where this is coming from. So the first step of this, again, is just a mini calendar. It can be small, it doesn't have to be gigantic, because you're not going to be writing anything in here, at least the way that I'm describing it. I don't necessarily have to write anything in here except for like a number. And then the bottom half of it, again, this paper is perfect for what I'm doing here just because it's already lined. If you're already using lined paper, that's fine. If you're using graph or dot grid, it doesn't really matter. What you're going to be doing in this section is basically listing out some of your self-care activities. If you've been following along with these videos and you've already created your visual schedule of self-care activities, go back to that list. You can certainly do that and refer to some of those things. I talked about in that video how I use the visual schedule for Sophea. So I actually don't have a visual schedule of self-care activities. So this is a good task for me to kind of complete right now with you. So I'm going to speed through this part just so you can see me list out some of my personal self-care activities, and we'll come back towards the end. Okay, as I came up with my list, honestly, I was really struggling after the first few to come up with anything, and that made me really realize that some of these things I haven't done in a long time, which is honestly a good reminder that I need to come back and pick up some of these things. So I'm actually going to date this. I totally forgot to do this, but I'm going to date this for July, and so July, I like to, I know this is really weird, but I like to use a Monday through Sunday start even for monthly calendars, and so July 1st is going to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So let me go ahead and date this. All right, and let's number your self-care activities as well. And I'm not going to judge you for how many activities you have, but if you want to give me a list of the things that you put as self-care activities, you can see most of mine, like at least the beginning, are like very wellness or like beauty oriented, and then I have like reading, crafting, baking, and they start edging into like social related stuff. But leave me a list. Like, I'd love to hear what you have. Maybe you'll like inspire me to add some things to my list too. I didn't even use the second column, you can see that, just because I couldn't think of anything more. Like, I was really struggling. All right, so I'm numbering the dates here just for July. And in fact, I should put July up there. I'll do that off camera, right? So I have July here, and then what I'm going to do here is actually number these. I am not going to be in any way like checking this off or like putting a like you know, stickers or anything like that. So I'm just going to write the numbers right here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is look at these numbers, and we're going to do one of two things with them. All right, we're actually going to do two things. The first thing we're going to do is, as we complete certain self-care activities, we're going to take the number here and transfer them up to your monthly. The encouragement is to try to do as many self-care activities as you can. It's not going to be where you need to do something every day, although, I mean, it would be good if you could try. Like, a lot of research into self-care really talks about like making sure that we spend at least 30 minutes each day doing something that is enjoyable to us. So anything that is enjoyable can serve as self-care. And so you can see things here, for example, like just sitting outside for 30 minutes drinking my coffee. It doesn't seem like self-care, but it's something that I enjoy. And so in that regard, it is self-care, even if it's not like me reading or doing something more active, okay? And honestly, nothing on this list is very active. Like, none of this is like really physical health oriented. They're all wellness, self-care oriented, just not physically active kind of activities. So with that being said though, like, we're gonna look at this list, and again, like, the encouragement, although it's not going to be a requirement, I'm not going to like say you must do this, but really think about like what can you put into every day, each and every day that you have, that would be about 30 minutes of one of these things, all right? And do it because you enjoy it, not because you have to. So here, just as an example, baking. I enjoy baking. I love baking. But if I were baking for my family and it was a must do, that's not self-care. Like, if I'm baking like a birthday cake and I had to have that done, to me, I would not classify that as self-care unless I really did enjoy that. But if I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to put it here as a self-care activity, right? It's just something I had to check off the to-do list. It's not something that I did for myself. Okay, so 30 minutes each day. That's the recommendation, not the requirement. But what we're going to do is, again, take this list. This is my personal list, and I'm going to do two things with it. The first thing is I'm going to make note each and every day of the things that I have already done. So today is actually July the 2nd. Right, and I'll just go ahead and tell you that yesterday, July the 1st, I was able to do number 3. All right. Oh, let me just put this in. No, I'll just put it in pencil. I don't know why, but like, I've already done pencil here, so I don't want to like mix it up. I've already done number 3, right? So I actually gave myself a facial. I was so happy to do that. Like, I feel like been forever since I have like taken care of my like skin. So I did number 3, and I really did it because I was doing this video. Okay, so I was able to at least put that thing down here. Today is still happening, so I don't have anything yet, but my plan is to try to do something on this list. We do have a couple of events that are happening because of the 4th, and so I might pick up something just to make myself feel good, look good, and I might do something like, I don't know, like just not do another facial, but like there's another one now that I'm thinking about it that I would add on here. One of the things that I like to do is do this like chemical peel for my feet. So I'm going to add that here. All right. I know that's kind of weird, but anyway, so I haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking that will be it, and I'll put 12 in this box. Now, that's the first thing that I do with this list. The second thing that I do with this list is actually make note next to it of the last time I did it. Okay, so right here, just as an example, this facial at home spa day. The last date, or like whenever you start this, what you're gonna do is actually just write right next to it, all right, July 1st, 21. When I do this chemical peel, if I do it, I'm going to write July 2nd, 21. Now, what you can see right off the bat is this top chart really tells you how often you engage in any kind of self-care activity, right? Again, like for me, the metric is like anywhere in the range of like 30 minutes. If you've done something for about 30 minutes, and it could be like a little bit shorter, a little bit longer. But if it's around 30 minutes of an activity that you did for yourself that is your version of self-care, whatever that might be, and you enjoyed doing that, then put it here. Have some kind of code or legend here. It could be color coding. For me, I just use the numbers just to keep it functional. But you can color code, you can just list the number, a letter, whatever you want to do, and put a sticker there. Put the number there. Put whatever your system, your legend is in that box. And you can see across a month how often you engaged in a self-care activity. That's what this box, this month tells you. The second thing that you learn from this information is how often you do each and every activity. So if, for example, as you're using this calendar or as you're using this self-care activity sheet, if the next 6 months you find that you have not read at all because like it remains blank for the next 6 months, or if you realize that baking is something that you really, really enjoy doing, but you only did it once or twice in the past 6 months, that's good information for you to have. You can make adjustments and try to do the things that you enjoy doing. It also gives you a chance to self-reflect. Maybe these things are things that you enjoy doing and they just require too much time, and that means that you need to scale back like some of the things that you're doing. Like for me, maybe the extra long shower, which is like for me about an hour. Ooh, maybe that an hour is way too long. Maybe I need to scale it back to like 30 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever I need to do to make adjustments to my own self-care list. Or it might be that you're just in a different season of life and your self-care list that you thought was the ideal ended up being something that is not at all the list that you thought it would be. So you can make adjustments to this list. This is not at all set in stone. I do encourage you to keep a long list of self-care activities, whether it's in the visual form or whether it's in this kind of more functional form. But I do also really think it's important for you to track how often you do each activity. And keep that information somewhere handy for yourself, and also how often you engage in any form of self-care on a regular basis. So again, recommendation is to try to do something every day, even if it's something very, very simple. And I keep saying 30 minutes, but it could be like if you really feel like your self-care activity is a 5-minute, like sitting in a corner and meditating for 5 minutes, and that's your self-care, then I say you do you. Like that is actually 5 more minutes than I'm doing on a regular basis, right? So there is no judgment for me for what you're going to do for self-care. I just really want you to be intentional about the time that you're engaging in these things, right? And so that is this video. I hope it's helpful for you. I hope that you're able to carry this information and move this information forward with you, right? This monthly calendar might change, right? And so you might have this list and have that list move with you. Like, I mean, I would really literally like just cut this in half and just paste it into a new page and just keep using the same list until I run out of space. Or you might want to like have this list be on its own page and have the monthly calendars on a separate page, whatever works for you. Like, I'm not saying it has to be done exactly like this, but I do think it's important to track both elements of this, the everyday self-care as well as how often you engage in each specific activity. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. If it inspired you to come up with your own list of self-care activities, please do leave me a comment and let me know what are some of the things that you have on your list. Again, my list is, I mean, I was actually able to come up with quite a bit the more I thought about it, but I was here for a little while. Like, I sped up the video. I was able to come up with quite a bit. Hopefully you can see it so that way maybe these things inspire you as well. But if you have something that was not on this list, I would love to hear what that is, just so I can see what your list looks like and see if I can add anything to my own list. We're here to help each other out, right? So give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you are inspired to do so. And until the next video, bye guys.